Trump is the 47th President of the United States of America. Welcome to the Daily Report. Tonight, we look at the implications of this decision. They say that when the U.S. sneezes, the world catches a cold. This is the Daily Report. My name is Hibaq. Let's take a look at the highlights. Tonight, Donald Trump it is.
History for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that.
U.S. former President Donald Trump elected to White House again. But what does this mean to Kenya?
He will not pick up the phone, probably, and call Ruto and say, how are we doing? They will all have to line so that he can deal with Israel's.
Also tonight, 10 teachers arrested over claims of photocopying exams in Homa Bay arraigned in court. Is he a serial killer or a man on a mission? Hashim Dagane linked to the murder of the woman whose mutilated body was found dumped in Langata. And committee chairpersons and vice chairpersons who have been absent now warned of impeachment over their absenteeism.
There is no reason for the Speaker to come and sit and wait for quorum when there are members who have business to be transacted on the floor, they are not in the House.
Budget Committee Chairman Ndindi Nyoro is a missing man. All right, thank you so much for joining us once again. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Rhoda Nyamai. To start us off, Population Services Kenya has launched its report after the completion of the Accelerate program conducted in the counties of Narok, Kwale, West Pokot and Garissa. Some of the key findings include facility readiness to offer integrated SRH and GBV services, as well as increased adoption of modern contraception in hard-to-reach communities. Elizabeth Atieno with the details.
736 million women and girls in the world are affected by gender-based violence. In Kenya, 34% of women of reproductive age have experienced physical violence since the age of 15. Additionally, 13% of women have experienced sexual violence, while 7% of women have experienced violence in the past 12 months.
Looking at the data collected for this midline assessment, we saw 17% of men are now coming out to report, as opposed to what we see in the baseline, where only around 1% were reporting.
Intimate partner violence is still on the lead if the 45% GBV cases reported is anything to go by.
We've seen that facilities do not have dignity kits. Therefore, when GBV survivors come, they are forced to stay in the same clothes that they have been violated with, and they stay with that throughout. Yet this is a simple kit that could be provided by the healthcare facility.
On a positive note, there has been a steady decline in female genital mutilation. However, despite the grave health consequences, FGM is still practiced in some geographies in Kenya. Many residents from Narok and West Pokot believe FGM practices are driven by cultural norms.
We've seen that there are alternative rites of passage that have been provided by some communities, where communities are opting for other ways instead of the traditional female genital cutting.
As of now, 1.4 million Kenyans have undergone FGM. FGM is not the only health threat among women. Every year, 5,500 women die during childbirth. Child marriage is also an issue, with data indicating that 23% of girls below the age of 18 have been married off.
The strategic priorities that are defined in the national guidelines, in the policies, a lot of times the Ministry of Health will define a strategic priority, a strategic guideline, but they may have challenges in terms of the resources to implement.
More than 40% of women do not have access to modern contraception. However, stakeholders insist it is worth noting that there has been an increased adoption of modern contraception even among the marginalized communities, despite social cultural and political interference, as well as male opposition. The report has been released by the Population Services Kenya following the completion of the Accelerate program conducted in the counties of Narok, Kwale, West Pokot, and Garissa. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The standoff at Moi University continues as the Kenya University Staff Union KUSU and University's Academic Staff Union UASU leadership hold firm that their members will not return to work until the 8.6 billion Kenyan shilling arrears owed to staff are fully paid. Today, Moi University officials held a meeting with the Ministry of Labour in Nairobi, but the talks failed to reach a deal on a return-to-work formula. This comes as students are set to return this Friday following last month's indefinite closure. Lennox Sengre with the details.
There will be no activity in Moi, including reopening the university, until the issue of money is resolved. And that can only be done when the Minister of Finance has allocated funds to Moi. As to whether there was a program of reopening the university, that's beyond the control of the union and the workers. Maybe they have an idea. Once they bring the students, they have an idea how they are going to handle them. But we will advise the parents to not allow your students to go back to the university, because you shall be wasting the money that you are going to give the students to pay for rent, because there will be no learning.
Zimekatwa pesa kwa mshahara, kwa payslip, na zimekataa kupelekwa penye zinatakana kwenda. Kwa mfano tumekatwa loans na hazijalipwa kwa bank. Kwa payslip yako inaonyesha umemaliza kulipa loan, but kwa bank ni over 2 million.
To fix the opening dates, we were not consulted in those decisions. And so we ignore. Our demands, as I said earlier, have not been met. We will continue to be on strike until our demands are met.
Kenya National Examination enters day 3. Exam irregularities have sparked attention countrywide after 2 candidates were found with mobile phones in the exam room in Kiambu County, whereas 10 teachers were arraigned at Homa Bay Law Court after being arrested over exam irregularities, as Anastasia Mukabi now tells us.
2024, and they were booked in valid OB number.
The 10 teachers from Parliamentary Secondary School who were arrested on Tuesday were arraigned in court on Wednesday. The 10 were released on a bond of 2 million Kenya shillings with a surety of a similar amount, or alternatively a cash bill of 1 million Kenya shillings. The teachers appeared before Homa Bay Senior Resident Magistrate Christine Auker, where they were faced with 3 charges, which they collectively denied during the court proceedings. Meanwhile, 2 candidates at Membley Secondary School in Ruiru were caught with mobile phones in the exam room as the exam was about to start.
One incident ambayo imepatikana uko Membley High School. Kuna wanafunzi wawili wamepatikana na simu, na hiyo ni irregularity ya mitihani.
The Divisional Criminal Investigations Officer Jeremiah Ndombai confirmed the incident and said that the investigations are ongoing.
Let me be very clear, the exam has not leaked. The student also did not access the content of the phone, which is we are now analyzing. The investigation will continue, and of course, National Examination Council have they will take action also.
Elsewhere at Nyahururu Referral Hospital, Mary, a candidate at Modengere Secondary School, is in distress. She delivered last week on Friday, but due to complications, her infant is still at the newborn unit. In order for her to do her examinations, Mary must travel for more than 20 kilometers to and from the hospital.
Natelemka huko kwa DC ndo niwagoje tuende na wao juu sina means nyingine ya kwenda shule. Hadi huko shule napitia challenges nyingi kama kukalia form na nimeshonwa na kuumwa na maziwa juu sinyonyeshi.
Speaking in agony, the mother, Jane Wamboi, is urging the Ministry of Education to permit her daughter to sit for her examination at the hospital.
Nikeomba tu munisaidie huyu mtoto afanyie mtihani hapa General Nyahururu amalize ili asiteseke sana.
Anastasia Mokabi, TV47.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya. Mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another
time.
other African countries may have to reset their diplomatic engagements with the United States in the wake of Donald Trump's victory in the 2024 U.S. presidential poll. Among the notables, according to defense and foreign policy analysts, is the presence of Kenyan police in Haiti, which risks defunding with the entry of Trump. Apollo Kamau reports on why Trump's priority for Kenya and Africa may change compared to the outgoing President Joe Biden administration.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers.
Congratulated Donald Trump on his re-election as the 47th President of the United States of America. Evel Ruger looks at some of the notable figures who sent their congratulatory messages.
President William Ruto joined the world leaders in congratulating the 47th President of the United States.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents, zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
All right. Of course, we have seen the deductions of the various reporters, and thank you for that. But we need to know the commercial and economic aspect. We are joined tonight by Dr. Kizito Sabala online, who is an expert in diplomacy and international studies. Maybe, Dr. Kizito, if you could just tell us, we have so many economic and bilateral ties with the U.S. Where does that place us right now?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I think indeed it is true that Kenya and America have a lot of bilateral relationship in terms of trade and investments. And I think the one that comes out most is the AGOA. This arrangement is meant to allow Kenya's goods to be sold in the American markets. And I think given the Trump's victory, I'm not sure that this is going to change. I think the American economy requires different exports or imports from the developing countries, and one of the very strategic issues that America follows is actually the issue of the AGOA that allows the goods from the developing countries to get into the American market.
Right.
And I think this is something that Trump is going to continue with.
All right. Dr. maybe if you could just give us clarity. Now, Trump is coming in saying that he wants more tariffs, especially for countries that may not be aligned to the U.S. We're seeing as much as 200% in tariffs. What does this mean for exporters in our country?
For exporters in our country, I think most of those tariffs are really not targeted for small countries like Kenya. If you look at the relationship between Kenya in terms of trade, it is very small, significant. I think the tariffs that Trump administration is talking about is targeting more developed countries like China, which have been very at loggerheads with the U.S. market for many years. So in my view, I think that the 200 goods that the Trump administration hopes to impose taxation are going to be very significant in terms of Kenya's trade relations with the U.S.
Right. Dr. there's also the aspect of mass deportation. Trump is not very kind to laborers, especially coming from third world countries or establishing countries such as ours. What does that mean for our laborers?
I think it's important that we really need to begin to have bilateral discussions with the U.S. Because, as you rightly put it, Trump is very serious about the issue of migration to the U.S. And this not only affects the investors, but also it affects the Kenyans living in the U.S. and trying to invest in the U.S., but also the Kenyan students who are already in the U.S., but also those who are also hoping to go to the U.S. for further study. So I think from where I sit, I think it is important for the Kenyan government to begin to negotiate about the Kenyans living in the U.S. or who are hoping to go to the U.S.
Asante sana, Daktari, for those sentiments. We will be looking into more with the Investments Promotion Principal Secretary Abubakar Hassan, who will be joining us in the later part of this bulletin. But for now, we go on with our news of the night. Tonight, police have established that the suspect in the murder of the Isli 3 could be the person behind the murder of a woman or 3 women, or a woman whose body was discovered badly mutilated at the Langata cemetery on Saturday. Hashim Dagane Muhammad was captured on CCTV in an apartment where he is believed to have killed the woman, but the owner of the apartment, who is currently on the run, cleared the mess and repainted the house. Samira Mohammed is working on this story.
Detectives investigating the murder of a woman whose body was badly mutilated and found dumped at the Langata cemetery claims to have recorded a major breakthrough into Hashim Dagane Muhammad's activities. Dagane, the main suspect in the murder of 3 women in Nairobi's Eastleigh estate, is now linked to the murder of the woman. Following up on crucial exhibits recovered at the scene, the detectives headed to a city supermarket where it was established that the victim of the murder was a lady who was captured by the CCTV cameras while shopping on the 29th of October this year. After shopping, the lady proceeded to an apartment in Lavington, where was yet again captured by the CCTV cameras while entering the said premises. The detectives have established that the lady was in the company of Dagane, who was residing in the apartment, carrying 2 bags suspected to have contained the remains of the victim that were later in the day discovered at the Langata cemetery. It is believed that the woman in question could be Deka Abdinur Gorone, who was reported missing at California Police Station on 24th October. The remains are being subjected to a forensic analysis to ascertain the identity of the victim. Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Samira Mohammed, for that story. And as we move on, of course, we look into the story of the National Assembly, where Kimani Ichung'wah has given a warning to the various chairpersons and vice chairpersons of different committees on the consequences of what would happen if they do not show up in Parliament.
Yesterday, from a short recess where National Assembly resumed its mandate, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah came out gun-blazing, issuing a stern warning to all committee chairpersons who have a tendency of being absent in the House sessions that would soon face impeachment.
Both sides of the House, if you are a chair of a committee or a vice chair, please take your work seriously. If you do not, we have another 280 members who can take those positions. Do the honorable thing. If you don't have time for the House, just do the honorable thing. And you know, we're in this season, the season Junet Mohammed calls a season of impeachment. I am not encouraging anyone to impeach anyone. But if need be, please impeach these chairs and their vice chairs if they can't be in the House.
Sources indicate that among those targeted is Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro, who serves as the Budget Committee chairperson among 13 lawmakers for the purge from their powerful committees' leadership, as President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza Alliance and Raila Odinga's ODM's cracks whip against disloyalty and the looming shake-up that will firm up their grip on Parliament. Sources indicate that the committee chairpersons targeted are targeted not only for absconding duties but viewed as close allies of the impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Is 236.
Sources within the broad-based government political circle have hinted that Azimio's ODM MPs will benefit from the impending purge, including President Ruto's allied MPs who were believed to have been sidelined in their previous house-sharing arrangement. The purge expected in the bicameral House and vocal allies of Gachagua in the Senate likely to face the music.
Changed. But I will restrain myself from putting that question until the substantive speaker is in the chair. But meanwhile, before we proceed, what's your member for Kitutu Masaba? What is your point of order?
To be here, to create quorum. If you have a problem to deal with your chairs, you deal with the chairs. If you want to tell us to impeach them, let us impeach. But you cannot go naming us on live TV for not attending.
Others in the radar in the expected purge include the Voko Githunguri Lomti and Embakasi North MP James Gakuya, who is the chairperson of the Trade, Industry and Cooperatives Committee. Also targeted are Emurwa Dikir MP Johanna Ngeno, Urban Development and Public Works, Mwala Legislator Vincent Musyoka from the Energy Committee, Kipipiri Member of Parliament Wanjiku Moi, who is the Regional Integration Committee chairperson, and Kitui East lawmaker Nimrod Mbai at the Public Petitions Committee. Ishungwa's remarks come amid frustrations over the absence of members whose questions were scheduled for response by Roads and Infrastructure Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir.
These are the 4 weeks of reckoning. If you are a chair of a committee, you must be in the House at 2:30. If you are a vice chair, you must be in the House at 2:30. There is no reason for the speaker to come and sit and wait for quorum when there are members who have business to be transacted on the floor. They are not in the House.
Citing Article 121 of the Constitution, which mandates a quorum of 50 members in the National Assembly and 15 in the Senate, Ishungwa underscored the importance of attendance. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We go for a very short breather, but when we come back, more news and that interview with the PS, Abubakar Hassan. Don't go too far.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. we dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. The government now says the old higher education funding model system was ineffectual because it neglected to account at the expense of postgraduate programs. University Fund Chief Executive Officer George Monari, while appearing before the members of Parliament on Wednesday, disclosed that following conservatory orders granted to stop the formula's implementation, the financing for the first and second cohorts has been put on hold. Mike Kagongo reports.
Appearing before the National Assembly Public Investment Committee on Governance and Education Wednesday afternoon, University Fund CEO George Monari said the variable scholarship and loan funding model was created as a result of the inefficiencies and challenges experienced previously.
However, in the new funding model, coming to Honorable Mwenje, the chair, this will be able to be resolved because now the actual student is the one who applies. If the student is not in the university, then it means that student will not be funded.
Monari, however, said following the conservatory orders granted to stop the formula's implementation, the financing for the first and second cohorts of the new university funding model had been put on hold.
The conservatory orders did not explain exactly what we are not supposed to implement, whether we are supposed to go back. And we are working with the Attorney General to be able to resolve this issue.
What we are availing is the programs on our portal. We avail all the programs that are approved by the Commission for University Education.
In contrast to children whose parents or guardians could afford to pay for their education, the new approach is said to address the challenges faced by exceptionally vulnerable and needy students who had been severely disadvantaged. However, citing legal disputes that have caused the model's implementation to stall, lawmakers pushed for the Ministry of Education to return to the previous model, claiming the new approach has failed.
How are you telling me this is a better system? And yet the net result is that we have more students at home.
When you talk of issues of budgets, the entire country is really struggling. You might put the budget there, you might not get the funds. So, proposal through the chair again. Think of in-kind donations.
Over 250,000 students are left in the dark regarding their university's funding as a result of the decision. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Kenya's financial market is stabilizing despite a raging currency crisis and an unprecedented tight external environment that threatened to lock out the country from the international capital markets. NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora says Kenya acted decisively to resolve its exceptional financing needs for the June 2024 Eurobond maturity, well ahead of schedule, which is significantly easing sovereign issues. This stability is projected to reflect on the GDP at a rate of 4.8% into 2025.
It is our belief that we must continue to work together with each one of you as we collectively navigate the business cycle dynamics of the day. Going forward, with most of the key economic sectors and subsectors already back to their long-term average growth rates, as we see from the statistics, the role of government and markets will be crucial to sustaining this growth, as well as enabling households and business enterprises to build buffers that will deal with future shocks.
If interest rates, we are able to achieve what we are talking about, over the next 4 years, you're talking about the potential interest cost is the sum of the two, what we have in budget in terms of interest cost. If you look at our sort of forecast budget, is the sum of the two numbers. So by 26-27, it is 569 plus 255. That's domestic interest rate. Now, if we have a 1%, 100 basis point reduction every year, by 26-27, we save 255 billion shillings. So that is literally all the amount of money that we are looking for in terms of external sort of financing from the people we call development partners.
Now, insurance bodies are moving into creating special packages for the niche women market, securing a significant amount of its portfolio for its female clientele. Britam Acting CEO Eva Kimani now says the health cover tailored to cover women for diseases unique to them will not only improve insurance penetration, but would also be inclusive to the marginalized group.
This Malkia by Britam Female Wellness Solution covers different options. So the cover ranges from 50,000 shillings to 500,000 shillings, and it comes as low as 620 shillings, that is the lowest cover, all the way till 3,000 shillings, which is the most expensive cover. This product was developed through very rigorous engagement with mothers as well as women. We conducted several focus group discussions where we were able to ascertain the risks that they were facing as well as what they would wish for from an insurance product.
So even my practice also reflects what the data mentions. The most common cancer I see in women is breast cancer, followed by cervical cancer, and ovarian cancer is pretty uncommon in day-to-day practice. Breast cancer, most women come when the disease is stage 3 or stage 4, because women tend to neglect the symptoms and they go to the oncologist when it is too late. Similarly with cervical cancer, they go when symptoms are uncontrollable, and that is the time they are diagnosed and it's too late for them. Having said that, both these cancers have got good screening programs which can detect cancer early and save lives, but unfortunately women don't undergo screening for both these cancers.
Sports news brought to you by Maybet.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
You're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Of course, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, the win is not really something that people did not expect, but it's happened. And we need to, promote ourselves for more investment. We need more investors. How is it looking especially for the Kenyan business economy?
I think to us, it's bullish. The outlook is bullish.
Okay.
And there are two instruments that we have with the US, is the AGOA, and then the Strategic Trade Investment and Partnership Agreement. And we believe and we are hopeful that the new administration, they will prioritize those two instruments.
The continent was so close to getting another renewal of AGOA, especially in 2025. Joe Biden was open to it. He did, positively indicate that he would renew this, but Trump may not hold the same sentiments. What's the next step?
We believe and are hopeful that he's going to renew the AGOA.
Right.
Right.
Right. And when we're looking into STEEP, STEEP has been, the brainchild, one would say, of President William Ruto, and it is, garnering around, the bottom-up economic transformation model. The MSMEs are bound to be, benefiting from it. What's the next step now?
The next step is we're almost concluding the STEEP, and we believe that this new administration will prioritize the conclusion of STEEP so that we can attract more investment from the US investors.
All right, we are going to go for a very short break, but when we come back, we tell you the details of a very, very exciting bill that is set to be in Parliament that would be touching on your businesses. Don't go too far, we'll be right back.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents, zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to the marketplace. Laws and policies largely influence either the success or the failure of a business. MSMEs make up to around 80% of all businesses in this country, and some policies, while many might neglect or even forget about them, do make up for their profit margins at the end of the month. With me, I have the Principal Secretary, Abubakar Hassan. We were just talking about the US scale, but now let's come back to our country. Of course, an unpredictable tax regime has been one of the reasons why policies are being shifted within your ministry. What else prompted this bill?
Okay, one of the tools in our State Department, in our toolkit, is business reforms agenda. And since this administration came to office, we have been continuously engaging the private sector to identify challenges to be addressed and opportunities to be unlocked. So when we came to office, we started by asking the private sector to submit their written submissions, which led to the finance bill of 2023, which was very progressive, and the outlook of the business was very bullish. And then after that, the cabinet established a standard committee called Business Reform Action Plan Development Committee, which involved all the CEOs of the private sector community in Kenya. We also engaged them, and we came up with a very beautiful action plan, which led to the finance bill of 2014, which it was withdrawn. After that, we re-engaged the private sector. This time we advertised it on the dailies, and then we had a whole week of analyzing the issues which needed legal interventions, issues which needed policy interventions, and issues which needed administrative intervention. So out of those which needed legal interventions culminated into this business laws amendment bill.
All right. Now, of course, the tax, policy changes will be making a comeback. One wouldn't say the finance bill, but clearly these are changes to the taxation regime. What exactly is the position of the ministry on this?
We have tax laws amendment bill, and we have a business laws amendment bill. So the main tax issues are mainly covered under the tax laws amendment bill, and the business laws amendment bill is covering other business-related legislations.
All right. Say, for example, the tax laws amendment bill does go through, and some of the manufacturers and people within the business community come to you and they say that they want adjustments to be made, but within the provisions of the business law amendment bill. What exactly is the ministry going to do?
Okay, this business amendment law, the business law amendment bill is an omnibus bill, and is amending 18 acts of parliament, and it has 57 clauses. But there are 5 major themes or 5 major focus areas. And one of the focus areas is retention. How do we retain existing investment, especially in the manufacturing sector? So what we have done there, when one of the main issues the manufacturers face, in addition to the cost of production and all that, is the market risk. They cannot sell their products into the market because of cheap products, because of cheap imported products, because of illicit imported product, because of counterfeited product, because of substandard imports. So what we have done in this business laws amendment bill, we have introduced a levy, it's called import levy, to protect the local manufacturers so that they can be able to access the market. That is one. 2, we have also made it mandatory for public agencies to at least buy 14% of their procurement to come from the locally manufactured goods. Okay? So that is what we are trying to do. We have also amended we have also strengthened the cabs and counterfeit so that they can be able to handle the substandard goods and counterfeit things.
All right. Bona PS, of course, you've been in this ministry. Yeah. Your State Department was a new State Department when the Kenya Kwanza government was taking over, but there have been a number of CSs who have taken over. Many would say that when Salim Vuria, the Cabinet Secretary, took over, he wanted a clean slate. Yes. And this amendment bill is his clean slate.
Correct.
What exactly was going so wrong that he wanted to change?
No, he just wanted it to be more, for us to be more engaging with the private sector. So, and that is why he wanted to be more robust, and he wanted us to refine and retool and recast how we do stakeholder engagement, how we do public participation, how we do external communication. And that is why we redid everything, culminating to this business laws amendment bill.
All right. A lot of the time, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and even the private sector have lamented that maybe the ministry is not hearing them out. The KNCCI have also lamented about this. Do you believe that now they feel more heard? They feel more heard because this is this bill is product which is driven by them. Yeah, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, the Kenya Private Sector Association, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. This is what they want. All right.
So it is driven by the private sector.
Right. When our peers have gone through some of the proposals, and I'm seeing the Kenya, KEBS is one of the state departments, or rather one of the bodies that has been touched on the most. Have you maybe found it that KEBS was not doing its mandate well, or is this just a boost towards the right direction? Yeah, it's just to strengthen. As I had said, manufacturers were complaining about cheap imports, substandard imports, counterfeited imports. So what we are doing, we are basically strengthening these agencies to support local manufacturers. But the most important thing in that bill is, let's start by the number one theme or number one focus area. We are targeting promotion of private investment into two key pillars of our economic transformation agenda. One is on the affordable housing space. As a country, we are our population is increasing at the rate of 2.2% and urbanizing at 4.4%. Right now, currently, we have around 1,500 slums and almost 6 million people who are not in decent houses. So there's a deficit of affordable housing. His Excellency the President had committed in his manifesto that we are going to build at least 250,000 houses every year. So what we have done in the Finance Bill of 2023, we've been able to put incentives and to attract private investment to build those affordable houses. We also introduced a housing levy. Thanks for the housing levy, we are using it to de-risk private investment, because once they build, we are able to off-take the social housing and the affordable housing. So the biggest problem has been at the end user financing. The banks are saying if we finance these hustlers to buy this unit, there are two issues which we want to be helped. One is the titling of the apartment, and two is if the hustler defaults, it takes time for us to foreclose. It takes almost a year. All right.
So as government, what we have done, first of all, we have this entity called Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, which is working with banks to make sure they finance hustlers at a very low interest rate. But there are two issues. There is a cost of capital and cost of risk. So we are giving money to banks to finance to hustlers to reduce the cost of capital, but the cost of risk is borne by the banks. So, and the banks, they raise those two issues. The titling to be secured and the foreclosure period. So in this bill, we have reduced the foreclosure period from 12 months to 6 months, so that we give confidence to banks to be able to finance hustlers to off-take the houses which we are currently building.
Right. I'm also seeing a proposal to amend the Public Procurement and Disposal Act and to provide for mandatory public procurement of 40% of goods and services from local manufacturers. What does that mean exactly? What does that mean for manufacturers? It means it's good for them because it's buy Kenya, build Kenya. We want that all a government agency to purchase from the local manufacturer. So we're giving them an offtake for their produce. All right, and you've also talked about, of course, the banks. So there is also a proposal to amend some of the acts to have stiffer penalties against banks and credit institutions that do not conform to prudential guidelines. What were some of the emerging problems that forced this? All right, so as I had said, this bill had 4 themes. One is to promote a private investment into our key pillars of our economic transformation agenda, that is affordable housing and the digital space where business process outsourcing are hosted. 2 is to attract, to facilitate investment, and that's why we are amending the Kenya investment laws and the special economic laws. 3 is about financial market
deepening.
Right.
So we want to strengthen the stability of the financial institutions in Kenya, and that is why we want to raise the core capital of banks from 1 billion to 10 billion in the next 3 years, and also to put those credit providers who are not non-deposit taking into regulations.
All right. Some of the other things that just jumped out at me, especially concerning the standards body, is of course for manufacturers, you are encouraging, self-standardization to ensure that the quality of products, are enhanced and are held up. There's also the chain of production to be followed to promote standards quality. How exactly are they supposed to self-regulate and then have KEBS come in as well? What are the tenements of this particular agreement?
It's because, when we are importing goods, all goods which are imported must be checked by KEBS. But for local manufacturers, it's not that mandatory. So we wanted, but they have to produce products which are of quality. So we're telling them they can self-regulate, and then we just come on top of it. That is what we are trying to build, an ecosystem of self-regulation amongst themselves. Yeah.
Bwana PS, of course, the Cabinet Secretary had touched on the Kenya Bureau of Standards quite recently, and he did say that it would be open to private laboratory owners to ensure that quality is maintained and to come in capacity-wise where KEBS cannot uphold it themselves. How exactly is that supposed to pan out?
It's first of all, for anyone who has capacity to do that, he has to be accredited by KENAS and then designated by KEBS, because KEBS has no capacity to be everywhere in Kenya. So that is why they have this laboratory. So once accredited by KENAS, then you can be designated by KEBS to be doing those quality standards assessment.
Right, but when we have the private sector infiltrating something as delicate as quality and standard insurance, don't you feel like some of the producers might be getting away scot-free if there isn't an airtight system to hold them back?
But there is an airtight system, because you have to be accredited first by KENAS for competence before you are designated by KEBS to do the standard assessment. If you do not comply with the conduct of business, you will not be accredited. The accreditation will be removed.
Right. When is this going to be, looked into? Will there be an officer within these laboratories making sure that each and every day,
yes, there is inspection and quality assurance after every quarter, or if it need be, if there is a suspicion.
Right.
Yes.
We have had a situation where, substandard sugar has infiltrated, the markets, and it was on the shelves and people did consume it. Don't you feel like if the private sector comes in with these laboratories that people would use this to their advantage? Since KEBS already was there, but we did have the system infiltrated.
But those are exceptional cases which are criminal in nature. And
is the government willing to let such exceptions go through?
No. In any circumstance, there are exceptional cases which are criminal in nature, and the criminal enforcement will ensue if that thing happens.
What are some of the, curbing methods that you've come up with for these loopholes?
It's a criminal offense, and people will be jailed for that. And I'm sure you are aware that people have been arrested and they are in court for that offense.
Right. Another amendment that really jumped out at me is the one that has to do with, accreditation of investment facilities. How exactly is that going to pan out?
Accreditation of investment facilitators. So when we promote investment out there to foreign investors, when they get attracted, what they want is a single point of entry. And that is why we are changing our one-stop shop at Kenya Investment Authority to a one start, one go. Because investors, they're asking, where do we start rather than where do we stop? So we have renamed it, the nomenclature, from one-stop shop to one start, one go center. And now when they want a single entry where they can be facilitated. But it's very difficult in Kenya to do that, and we can't force them to go to Kenya Investment Authority. But because they are being facilitated by everyone. Even you can facilitate an investor. You get a foreign investor, but now in that story, most of them, they get misled, and most of them, they get conned. So what we are saying, we want these facilitators to be our partners so that they can have standard way of facilitating, getting the proper information to tell the investors. So we want to, anyone who wants to engage foreign investors for the purposes of facilitation to partner with Ken Invest, you'll go, you'll get accredited so that it builds confidence to the foreign investor that is dealing with someone who is accredited by Kenya Invest, and he will not be misled, he will not be conned.
Right.
It's more for investment protection.
Right. So there will be a database of foreign investors and foreign investments. Of course, this will push up FDIs. What are the numbers? Just tell me, what exactly do we stand to gain from this?
Currently, under the leadership of the President, when we came in, we had the lowest FDI ever in the Kenyan history, which was around 450 million US. When the President came in, he took it to 750 at the end of 2022. And at the end of 2023, we have double FDI. We are at $1.5 billion as per the UNCTAD report. So we believe that we're going to double that again with what the President is doing to profile the country, to position our country globally, and with these kind of interventions to facilitate foreign investors.
All right, interesting times that we're looking forward to. Of course, there's also the composition of a scrap metal council. Scrap metal has been, a thorn in the flesh, especially for the energy sector when it comes to the infrastructure that facilitates electricity within the country. And of course, Kenya Power was saying that they would not want the scrap metal business to come back because when it was banned during the Uhuru era, they didn't have any cases of, vandalism. How exactly is this particular council, or is this particular, scrap metal council going to come in to change this?
It's all about regulation, and what we are trying to amend there in the law is coming up with a council which is properly governed. So we are changing the composition of governance in the council. Once that one is fully reorganized, then we believe that now the enforcement of all those offenses by the vandalism will be okay. So we're just targeting the head, and everything will be correct. We're just targeting to amend the council itself because it is private heavy. Most of the people who are the dealers, metal dealers, are also part of the council, and they do not enforce against themselves. So we want to reduce that number so that it is more government heavy.
Right. When you're weighing, the pros and cons of having this scrap metal council, do you believe that the pros would outweigh the cons, considering that, the infrastructure, the electricity infrastructure is costing the government hundreds of millions every year?
Yes, we believe that at the top, if we set the tone at the top, everything will be sorted out. And that is why it is only one clause which has been amended in the scrap metal at the board. We're just reorganizing the board.
Right, and this particular amendment bill has a lot of councils and inspection bodies. Now, there's also the proposal to have an inspection body at the country of origin. How exactly is that going to pan out? That is for KEBS. What you are saying is, as I told you, KEBS have to check all the goods imported into the country, whether they are substandard. So they cause a lot of delay at the port, which leads to a lot of delays, and people start paying storage costs and all that. So what we are trying to do is we want the goods to be inspected from where it's coming from, the origin, and that is where we are getting the guys to conform, to make sure the goods conform to the standard from where it came from. So when it comes here, we'll just check if it complies, it just passes. There is no time wasted in doing the assessment again. However, if there is a complaint, or we just sample that there is something wrong in whatever has been assessed from the point of origin, then KEBS will come into play again. Just yesterday, the Changamka Festival started within the country, and this is usually such a big, forum, especially for manufacturers when it comes to showcasing some of their wares and, of course, selling them to Kenyans and gaining that traction. The Buy Kenya, Build Kenya agenda has been something that the government has been pushing for years now. However, some of the manufacturers are saying that this is not being taken up as much as they would like to. We are not as good at consuming our own goods as we are at creating them. What are some of the things that the ministry is doing to promote this?
This is what we're doing. We're making it law that all government agencies, at least 40% of the procurement must come from locally produced goods, manufactured goods. Before it was just an encouragement, then it became a policy. Now we're making it law to build their confidence now that at least in my budget, in my procurement plan, 40% it's a must that I must buy from a local manufacturer. Yes.
One of the challenges that they've also highlighted is, getting some of these raw materials. They're saying that some of the changes that are usually made, especially in taxation, makes it so hard to import some of their raw materials. What are some of the solutions?
But raw materials are usually not taxed. We are putting levies on finished products, where I think we have a philosophy in the East African region that raw materials are not taxed. They're just taxed at zero. Then semi-finished goods is at around 10, then finished goods around 25. So if you are purchasing raw materials, they are generally not taxed.
Some of the changes will also be affected in SEZs. What are they?
In the ACZ, I think the problem where the investors were having is they wanted clarity on what are the benefits that they're going to get. And we are saying now, before we are telling, if you read the Caesar Act, it says the benefits, you can find them in certain laws, tax laws. But now we want to provide all the benefits there and then. So if you read the Caesar Act, you'll be able to see all your benefits at a go. So you're providing clarity. Two, we're also providing the predictability. So we are saying all those benefits will be available to an investor at least for the next 10 years. So you're providing tax predictability for 10 years.
What about the cottage industries? How exactly is this supposed to, help them in the entry into the markets?
Ordinarily, what we're saying is we have a mechanism, for example, to sandbox these activities, like in Kirdi, the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, which can sandbox the startups, manufacturers. Because right now, since the president has been able to make Kenya the startup hub. In last year, we were rated #1 in Africa in terms of startup funding. But most of the startup funding is going to tech companies. So we want to diversify that so that with the startups also goes to manufacturing side. So we have institutions to help them in the sandbox and incubating them before they reach the market level.
Right. And there's also, changes to the Anti-Counterfeit Act. This has been something that, Kenyan manufacturers have been dealing with, and consumers especially. Some of the times when consumers come in, one would say that they are not protected very well. How exactly is this act coming in?
Yeah, it strengthens the enforcement capacity of anti-counterfeit so that the goods are not counterfeited, and it builds the confidence of the manufacturers that at least the goods will not be substandard and they will not be counterfeited.
One of the mandates for the ministry to hold up is to balance the needs of the consumer and the rights of the manufacturers. None should be trampling the other.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when it comes to consumers, and this could be a double-edged sword, they would say that we want to import products, we want the imported products. Why are you enforcing Kenyan goods upon us? What would you say to this?
Because we don't want to encourage consumerism.
Right.
We are a country of producers and manufacturers, and the president is doing his level best to subsidize production. He's doing his level best to incentivize manufacturing, and because it is there where we are going to create jobs for our youth. So we just don't want to create jobs in other countries. Then they just sell to us just because it's cheap, and we just consume. We want to produce them ourselves.
We are also, a country of free will, and free will kind of entails that I could take up whatever product I may need.
Yeah.
When it comes to forging trade ties with other countries, it's a give and take situation. How exactly do you handle this balance act between ensuring that we are, also giving other countries the benefit that they could possibly accrue from selling within our country and exporting?
And they're free to sell, so long as those goods are not produced, we are not producing them. If we have capacity to produce, then we will protect those manufacturers. If we do not have capacity, then you can sell. But if we have capacity to this quality and the quantity that is needed to the market, then we need to protect those manufacturers because they create jobs for our youth. Yes.
One of the projects that the government was running was ensuring some of the more developed countries, such as the Middle East, would come and set shop here and manufacture within our country.
Yes.
What's the progress on this?
Yeah. What we're trying to do, as our investment philosophy, our investment promotion philosophy is we are trying to be investor-centric. So we don't want to solve our problem, but we want to solve the problem of the investor through we are providing solutions, but at the same time addressing our needs. So in the UAE, what we are seeing that they're importing a lot of agri products and meat products. Yeah. So we are telling them we are very good in that. So why can't you come here and do the agri and the meat thing here? We have a lot of livestock here, so they can come and slaughter and just transport it and export it back to their country. So that one is in the pipeline, and we are hopeful that we're going to see a lot of investment from the Middle East.
Right. Abubakar, what are some of the perks that they should be looking forward to? Because, they could do this with any other, country within our region. Why should they come to Kenya? What are the perks or incentives that are being given to them?
Many things. We have a lot of competitive advantage. First is our economy. We know we have the largest economy in East and Central Africa. It's growing at the average rate of 5%. We have been rated 29th fastest growing economy in the world. Essentially, the president has managed to manage the macros. Yeah, the macros are very strong and stable. Right now, we have a low inflation regime and a stable exchange rate. That is what the investors are looking for, because they will get a lot of returns as a result of those two macros. Two, we have a very stable political environment. Right now, it is broad-based and a very stable security environment. So that is what the investors are looking for. But most importantly, it is the investment climate and the business environment. First, once you set up in Kenya, you have a market access not only to Kenya, but East African region and the whole of Africa, and to the America through AGOA, to UK through the Economic Partnership Agreement, through the European Union, through the Economic Partnership Agreement we have just signed. We are now signing another Economic Partnership Agreement with UAE. So that is a whole market that you are going to get. But for you to access that market, you need to produce competitively. So we have in this country incentivized economic zones. We have special economic zones and export processing zones where we are giving you fiscal incentives. So you can come and produce competitively to serve that market. The third one is on we have one of the factors of production is labor. Right. We have been rated #1 in Africa in terms of quality of our human capital, and very affordable. So that is what we offer to these investors. And most importantly, our economy is powered by 92% green energy. And you can see the whole world is moving on a green transition agenda. When people are looking for green products, green services, which you can only produce them in Kenya.
Right. Bwana PS, finally, because we are to close this particular session, the MSMEs in this country are always hopeful that the policies are going to be in their favor. That we have this new business laws amendment bill. The jargon is huge. What does it mean for MSMEs? What should they be looking forward to?
First of all, SME development is one of the main pillar of our economic transformation agenda. And what we are trying to help them is to help them to access market. We are opening the market for them. We're getting the export requirements for them. We are helping them with financing at a low cost, a low interest rate. So that, and we're looking for off-takers for them and in those markets so that they can be able to sell their products. And we have a State Department just focusing, giving them every need they want, called the State Department of SMEs. So we are working closely with that State Department to ensure that the SMEs are enabled, they are empowered and emboldened to up their game and take advantage of these opportunities that exist.
All right. Thank you so much, Abubakar, for joining us tonight and for giving us your precious insights. This has been The Marketplace. We were discussing the Business Law Amendment Bill, some of the proposals that it has, and some of the effects that it could have on the world of commerce within the country. And we've also touched a little bit on the U.S. election as we wait for Donald J. Trump to be named the president of probably the largest superpower in the world. Thank you so much once again for joining us. My name is Hibaq Saeed. Have yourselves a very lovely Wednesday night.